This question here is pretty algebraically intense, and so what I want to show you here first is what this is based on. The difference quotient is basically calculating the slope, and it's something we use eventually in calculus if you ever have to go that far. What we do is we say we know if we have a function, we have its x, and then some f of x that goes with it right here, right? So we can go up to this x and get this f of x. And so if we add a tiny little bit h is usually a very small number, think infinitely small, but I move over just a little bit. When I plug in x plus h, so I'm going over an h right here, adding h to x, just going over a tiny bit more than x. And I plug that in, then I get f of x plus h. So if I take the change in y, f of x plus h, over the change in x, that's the slope, and that's just x plus h minus x, where the x's cancel, and that's why you have just h. That's a little backstory about what this is, just for 1 minute there to describe what this is and why we even need to know what this is. So the first thing we need to do is we need to find out what f of x plus h is, so we can plop that in right there. So let's find f of x plus h. Everywhere you see x, put in x plus h. Alright, so in the original equation I had x squared minus 7x plus 9, so I'm going to put x plus h and then square it. And here, right, so both these places are where I have x's. So I'm putting x plus h in these two places instead of x. And so what happens here is we need to multiply that out. Now if you want to go over to the side and multiply that out, you're welcome to do so. In the interest of time, I'm going to not show that step, but certainly if you want to come over here and multiply x plus h times x plus h, then you can do that. You'll get x squared, xh twice, and then h squared. Alright, so now we need to take and do f of x plus h, alright, which we just found. So I'm going to write that x squared plus 2xh. So it's all that stuff, and unfortunately one of the things about this negative 7 times the x and negative 7 times the h, I made a mistake here. That needs to be negative. So none of this stuff is like terms. So all this stuff right here is f of x plus h. And so I'm going to subtract f of x. So I'm going to write minus, and then f of x is x squared minus 7x plus 9. And I'm going to put all of that over h. Now what happens here is when I distribute this negative here to all of this, think of it as instead writing plus, and then that's negative x squared plus 7x minus 9. Right, when you swap the sign outside parentheses, all the signs on the inside swap. So positive becomes negative, negative becomes positive, positive becomes negative. And the reason I do that is because now I can go cancel a lot of things here in the numerator. X squared cancels negative x squared. Negative 7x cancels positive 7x, and then plus 9 cancels negative 9. And so when that's done, I'm left with just things that have h in them. And that's kind of a little tip that I include here. So if you want to pause and read that little tip and any of those other things I've typed up there, you can absolutely do that. And now in the numerator, I have everything has h in it, so I can factor out h. So that leaves me with a 2x plus h minus 7 divided by h. Alright, so I factor the h because there's an h in everything here. And now h is divided by h, so that cancels out. And so my final answer is just this numerator here. 2x plus h minus 7 is the final answer. And that's the way you'll type that into MyMathLab.